Most people think composting is as simple as throwing all food and garden waste into a container and leaving it there for a couple of years. While you will get compost that way, you can produce much better compost and get it much more quickly if you follow these simple guidelines for the perfect recipe. There are 4 ingredients for good compost: greens, browns, air and moisture. These 4 need to be balanced correctly for best results. The ingredients you add to a compost heap contain carbon and nitrogen. The ratio of carbon to nitrogen determines whether we label it a green or a brown. Ingredients that have a relatively high nitrogen content and a carbon to nitrogen ratio below 30:1 are called greens. Ingredients with a lower nitrogen content, in other words a higher carbon to nitrogen ratio, are called browns. Colour isn't always a reliable indicator of what is a green or a brown material. For example, fresh grass clippings when spread out and left to dry are still considered a green ingredient even though they've turned a brownish colour because really all they've lost is water. On the other hand, straw is always considered a brown because before it was cut the main stems had died and much of the plant's nitrogen had gone into the seed as protein. Good examples of greens to add to your compost pile are grass clippings which haven't been sprayed with weed killer, vegetable waste, fruit peel, annual weeds before they've developed seeds, and old bedding plants. Don't compost animal products such as meat and try to avoid adding diseased plant material or fats and oils. Good examples of browns include sawdust, straw, wood chippings, shredded brown cardboard and fallen leaves. Bedding from herbivorous pets such as guinea pigs is ideal as their manure adds a bit of extra nitrogen to the mix. Compost decomposes much faster if you chop the ingredients up, so shredding woody materials and tearing up cardboard speeds up the process because there is then more surface area exposed to the microbes that decompose the compost. However, avoid shredded evergreen trees such as Leylandi because they don't compost well and the pine resin can inhibit seed growth. When making compost, you want to aim for 2 to 3 times more brown materials than greens, at least initially, though some more greens can be added as the compost cooks. For most gardeners, the biggest challenge is therefore collecting enough brown materials and not just piling in loads of greens which will result in a soggy, smelly mess. Never add lots of grass clippings in one go, as they will just form a slimy matted layer. Air is vital to the composting process, so it's important to mix the ingredients in together and never squash them down. By turning or remixing the compost, more air is introduced, which speeds up decomposition. The 4th vital ingredient is water. If, like me, you stockpile brown materials, you'll need to water the pile to get things going when first mixing it. Build the compost pile up with layers of browns and greens, watering it where necessary to produce a moist but not soggy mixture. A good compost heap has a slightly sweet composty smell. If it smells sour or rotten, then it either has too many greens or is too wet. In either case, the remedy is to mix more brown materials in to compensate. By getting the right balance of 2 or 3 parts browns to 1 part greens with moisture and air, you're giving the microbes that decompose the materials the best conditions to work in. As they break the organic matter down, they give off heat, which in turn speeds up the decomposition. In a well-mixed heap, temperatures can easily reach over 150 degrees Fahrenheit or 65 degrees Celsius. This heap, for example, was mixed several days ago and it's already been cooking nicely, though it's starting to cool a little now. After a few more days I will remix it to introduce more air and to bring materials from the edges into the centre. Several weeks later the heap will cool and worms can move in to finish the process. If you follow this recipe, you should get a fine, crumbly textured compost. Any remaining large bits can be sieved out and put into the next compost heap you build, leaving you with the very best food for your plants.